Della Rocca, please.
Good afternoon, and thank you for the opportunity to testify today. My name is Peter Della Rocca, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Environmental Defense Fund. EDF strongly opposes the proposal to withdraw Virginia from the region's greenhouse gas initiative. The program remains vital to addressing carbon pollution from the state's power sector. Withdrawing from it means missed opportunities to lower bills through cost-effective energy efficiency, dirtier air, and less clean energy systems overall. Even over its relatively short membership in the program, RGGI has produced significant environmental benefits for the state. Over the last 2 years, CO2 emissions from Virginia's power sector have fallen 12% annually. Virginia also faces serious risks from climate change, most prominently around flooding and extreme heat. Over 400 homes in the state are currently at risk for destruction by storm surge, with a projected reconstruction cost of $92 billion. Climate change will make this risk much worse. In the last 60 years, Virginia has seen heavy rainstorms and snowstorms increase by a third, with an 11% rise in precipitation from the largest of those storms. Hotter, drier conditions are projected to put half of Virginia's counties at risk of water shortages by 2050. What's more, as Virginia reduces carbon dioxide emissions, it also reduces harmful co-pollutants like sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides. A 2017 study found that RGGI generated $5.7 billion in health benefits for its member states through avoided premature deaths and avoided health problems like asthma and bronchitis. Proceeds of RGGI auctions deliver additional benefits to Virginians on top of the emission reductions. Since the state entered RGGI, it has received $523 million in revenue, which it is putting towards flood resiliency and energy efficiency programs. Further, transitioning Virginia away from fossil fuels will lower costs for ratepayers. Since the program began, energy prices inside the region have fallen by 4%, while prices outside the region have risen by 6%. The Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative helps protect Virginia's health, environment, and economy. Pulling out of the program would be a dangerous misstep, and we respectfully urge you to oppose this proposal. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you. Jessica Sims, please.
Hi, thanks very much for the opportunity to speak. I'm Jessica Sims, a resident of Henrico County, and speaking on behalf today of being a Henrico County resident. To the staff of DEQ and to the members of the Air Board who are not present but would vote on this regulation, excuse me, I ask that you please vote to maintain our participation in RGGI. The refrain I want to share repeatedly today is the attempted process of removal is unlawful. Our participation was mandated by law and can only be removed by law. And why would we want to remove ourselves from this successful multi-state initiative? RGGI has brought significant funding to Virginia, helping localities across the state and putting hundreds of millions of dollars into resiliency programs and flood preparation. This provides for the health and the future of our Commonwealth. It is a proactive, skillful way to force emission reductions while infusing needed funding into the state. Again, this attempted process of removal is unlawful. Our participation was mandated by law and can only be removed by law. And what does RGGI look like for Virginia? It looks like $3.8 million for Alexandria for waterfront improvement, mitigation projects, $9.6 million for the city of Hampton for drainage systems, riparian buffers, $387,000 for Buchanan County for flood resiliency, and my county, Henrico, which participates in the Community Flood Preparedness Fund with funding from RGGI. These funds help us have access to flood vulnerability assessments and flood mitigation. RGGI, a program mandated by law, makes possible our county's acquisition program for flood-prone properties in the county. This is important because there's more than 1,500 structures within a mapped floodplain and 7,000 residential properties with drainage issues. It's brought needed investment to our environment, our air quality, our health, and our planning for the future. I ask that the DEQ and the board reflect on the success of the program and to vote against the removal of Virginia from this program. Again, this attempted process of removal is unlawful. Our participation was mandated by law and can only be removed by law. Simply put, the law, y'all. Thank you for your time and consideration of my comment.
Thank you. Grace Holderman, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Grace Holderman. I am a student at Randolph Community College, and I am also a resident of Roanoke, Virginia. Frankly, it's embarrassing that the board cannot be here today. I think they should be here to witness all the Virginians who are in support of Reggie. And I believe if they were here, they would understand better how much we actually do support Reggie. Even if you look on the comment website, you can see how many thousands of people are in support of Reggie, because it is such an obviously beneficial program. Especially as a young person, I know that climate change directly impacts my future. It threatens the future of people who are my age, people who are younger. And if the board were to consider their children, their grandchildren, then maybe they would be more receptive to Reggie. And it's also important to note that Reggie is the law, as our previous speaker brought up. So we know that, as many of our speakers have brought up, that Reggie is completely beneficial. It helps people in very vulnerable positions, and it is majorly supported by many Virginians, including myself as a young person and people like me. So please remain Reggie.
Thank you. Tim Sawinski, please.
Hello, my name is Tim Sawinski. I'm speaking on behalf of the Sierra Club Virginia chapter today. That's better. We want to believe that the Air Pollution Control Board will recognize the many benefits that the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative delivers to Virginia's families. Reggie is simply a program that sets limits on air pollution, that makes people sick, creates a reasonable price on air pollution, and uses that money to invest back into Virginia's communities. The $500 million created by Reggie is vital to strengthening Virginia's communities and lowering our electric bills. These are both vital strategies to protecting people's homes from extreme weather and making sure that no family has to choose between keeping the lights on or affording basic food or medicine. To claim Reggie is anything but a multifaceted community-strengthening program is just simply untrue. But it's difficult to believe that the benefits of Reggie will prevent the Air Board from voting to revoke Virginia's participation, because the majority of the board is stacked with those with special interest backgrounds, advocating for the profits of corporate polluters at the expense of people and our collective future. The majority don't hold expertise in environmental science or health. They have backgrounds in coal lobbying, representing the fossil fuel industry, and undermining clean energy. And their backgrounds are germane to this decision because it calls into question their judgment and their qualifications to make an unbiased decision in this body that is supposed to be impartial. How can people with careers in representing pollution-intensive industries be trusted to make decisions about how Virginia should confront pollution? And the airport should also acknowledge the shaky ground of the arguments against Reggie are standing on. The governor has claimed this is some type of direct tax. We need to be clear for the record that there is nothing in Reggie that calls for a tax or pass on costs to consumers. So we can only assume that this anti-Reggie messaging is derived from a $4 Reggie administrative fee from Dominion Energy that was included from our bills. This fee was temporary, it was unnecessary, and it was unfair. It was temporary because it's no longer on our bills. I'm turning one of mine in as proof. It was unnecessary because Dominion Energy has overcharged customers by $1.2 billion since 2017. And it was unfair because it's a ridiculous line item. Where's the line item for Dominion's army of lobbyists? Where's the line item for the political contributions that they give to both political parties? Where's the line item for their Super Bowl ad? It's also vital to point out that this fee should never have been there in the first place, and it certainly shouldn't be used as an excuse to eliminate a successful climate program that puts the needs of people over polluters' profits. And it's vital to point out, as one of my colleagues did, that Reggie is part of the law. The Clean Energy and Community Flood Preparedness Act of 2020 mandates our state's participation in Reggie, and regulatory boards and governors should not make that decision unilaterally without the legislator. Yet here we are spending taxpayer money on an unnecessary repeal process that is illegal. Here's the deal. The Air Board has the power to deny Governor Young's attack on Reggie, and they should exercise that power because by nearly every metric, Reggie benefits Virginia's families. And the policy itself is reducing pollution while investing in your communities is popular.
Time.
chance to submit this comment. Do I turn this in?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mary Stewart Torbeck, please.
Back.
Beck.
Hi there, Mary Stewart Torbeck, a lifelong Virginian and resident of Richmond. We all know the science and why Reggie is important to Virginia, as many speakers have hit on. It helps protect our health and provides critical funding to ensure that Virginia stays resilient and protects the most vulnerable people across the Commonwealth. My father, brother, aunt, and myself collectively have over 75 years of service to the Virginia Department of Environmental Quality. We know firsthand that DEQ's vision is that all Virginians enjoy cleaner water, better air quality, and the productive reuse of land that was once contaminated. Under Governor Youngkin's leadership, this agency is failing Virginians in order to advance a political agenda that puts polluters first and citizens last. It is imperative that the Air Board finds a moral compass and does what's best for Virginians and stays in Reggie. Thank you.
Thank you. Carolyn Haywood, please.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak today. My name is Carolyn Haywood. I live in Virginia Beach, and I am a member of the board of the League of Women Voters of Virginia. The League of Women Voters of Virginia strongly supports keeping our Commonwealth in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, RGGI. As we all know, the purpose of RGGI is to reduce carbon pollution from electricity generation, pollution that is accelerating climatic changes and disasters. Already, RGGI has significantly decreased Virginia's carbon emissions, while its revenue has aided Virginia communities facing disastrous flooding. Over time, RGGI will strengthen our energy independence and reduce the cost of energy through tested and effective market-driven strategies that move us to a sustainable energy sources. As mandated by the 2020 Clean Economy Act, RGGI also provides funding to low-income households for energy efficiency improvements, which lowers their energy bills while reducing demand on power plants. Since joining RGGI in 2021, revenue for both flooding and energy efficiency has accumulated to over $500 million. No other sustained funding source of this magnitude exists to meet these needs. Like a large majority of Virginians, members of the League of Women Voters of Virginia support participation in RGGI because we recognize it as an investment in our future. The Virginia Air Pollution Control Board does not have the authority to rescind the regulations for emissions trading programs. Therefore, you must reject this proposed regulation for emissions trading 9BAC 5-140 because you cannot withdraw Virginia from the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Walden, please.
Hi everyone. My name is Danny Walden. I'm a fourth-year medical student at VCU. I've heard a lot about the economic impacts of RGGI. We've heard a lot about flooding and low-income energy preparedness. You haven't heard yet much about the health outcomes of RGGI, so I'm here to tell you about that. I'm representing the Virginia Clinicians for Climate Action today, which is a physician group across Virginia. In a few months, I'm going to be a doctor working to keep people healthy, and RGGI actually does that as well, so I'm here to support our staying in RGGI. Not long ago, I helped take care of a young woman with asthma. She was in her 20s. I say was. She's still in her 20s. Young woman, healthy otherwise. But I took care of her in the intensive care unit because of an asthma attack. And RGGI, one of the things that it does is it reduces asthma attacks. There's been a couple studies on the health benefits of RGGI. In the first 5 years of its implementation, RGGI member states saw 8,000 fewer asthma attacks, over 800 fewer premature deaths, and a reduction in more than 100 dangerous preterm births. So RGGI is good for health. That's why I'm here. Since Virginia joined in 2021, this cleaner air that we are now experiencing, like these other member states, has helped thousands of us in Virginia avoid health problems like those that I named. It may have helped this woman that I took care of in the ICU avoid her asthma attack and time in the hospital. It also saves taxpayers money. The EPA has found that improving air quality results in public health benefits that exceed the cost by over 30 times. So put simply, for every dollar that we put into RGGI and other programs like it, we save about $30. And we're healthier for it too. 1 in 10 Virginians has asthma. I would presume that each of you in here knows someone with asthma. So RGGI can actually help you, can help our loved ones, can help my patient in the future from asthma. We need clean air. We should stay in RGGI for this reason. Thank you.
Thank you. Richard Walker, please.
Richard Walker, founder and CEO of nonprofit Bridging the Gap Virginia. We train individuals in marginalized, lower income communities on how to install solar panels. For this state, this governor, to move us out of RGGI would be pure, for lack of a better word, pure decision making. This RGGI has been able to bring energy efficiency to lower income communities. It's been able to support those individuals that have these exorbitant electric fees, utility bills, to help reduce them. I just left a meeting where there were 3 senators that came to offer support for RGGI to continue. And that is the support that we continue to need to go forward, that we can fight this on every lean, and every opportunity, because it's wrong. Listen, how can this governor go against legislation that was put in place by a democratic process? We are the ones that made this possible through our legislators in order for it to become law. RGGI is the law in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and we need to be loud and clear to let this administration know that they are violating legislation by thinking he can do he didn't do an executive order. If it was an executive order that was done by, this legislation, he could change it, but it's law. So we need to let this governor know that he cannot overstep his bounds. Thank you.
Thank you. Peter Anderson, please.
Hey, good afternoon. My name is Peter Anderson. I am the Virginia Policy Director with Appalachian Voices. I'm based in Charlottesville. Appalachian Voices opposes the repeal of the carbon budget trading program as described in Executive Order 9. Why? First, Virginia's participation in the RGGI carbon trading program is required by statute. In 2020, the General Assembly passed the Clean Energy and Community Flood Preparedness Act. In the act, the General Assembly directed DEQ to update an existing carbon trading regulation such that, among other things, DEQ would sell carbon allowances directly into RGGI rather than using the consignment auction set out in the existing regulation. Using the word shall, Virginia Code 10.1-1330A directs the Air Board to incorporate provisions of the Act into the carbon trading regulation that was published in the Virginia Register in 2019. In a letter opinion denying the Virginia Manufacturers Association's petition for review of DEQ's subsequent regulatory action carrying out this directive, the Circuit Court for the City of Richmond found that DEQ, quote, did what the General Assembly required it to do. The agency, even at the direction of the governor, cannot reverse by new regulation that which the General Assembly required it to do. It's also worth noting that the Clean Energy and Community Flood Preparedness Act has proven to be a durable policy. Passed in 2020, bills have been filed in each successive legislative session to undermine or repeal the act. These bills have all failed, despite an intervening election in 2021 that created a different makeup of the General Assembly. Second, participation in RGGI is working as designed. According to US EPA data, carbon emissions from Virginia's power sector have decreased 16.8% since Virginia entered the program. Conversely, power sector emissions remained fairly level during the decade prior to Virginia's participation in RGGI. Third, auction revenues are helping real Virginians lower their bills through energy efficiency upgrades. According to expert analysis, if Virginia continues participation in RGGI through 2030, 130,000 homes could receive efficiency upgrades, saving an average of $676 per household per year. Finally, the cost of fossil fuels to power our electric generating facilities have approximately doubled over the past 2 years. RGGI is not only good for the climate and the air we breathe, it also signals to the power sector that cleaner, more cost-effective forms of electricity are favored by both electricity markets and policymakers carrying out the will of the Virginia. Oppose the proposed regulatory action.
Rick Gallagher, please.
Hi, I'm Rick Gallagher from Reston, here with the Faith Alliance for Solutions. And Governor Youngkin has opposed this because he says it's bad economic policy for the state. Not to him that Dominion overcharged the Virginia taxpayers over $1 billion in 5 years. And I think that hurts us even more than the charge for RGGI. RGGI has created over $5 billion in economic activity, more than 2,000 jobs for tradesmen and construction workers. These are not high-tech jobs in Amazon or in Virginia. These are jobs that are all over the state that other people enjoy. Over 100,000 low-income households have benefited from the energy efficiency upgrades. They have reduced bills by up to 30%, giving low-income households much-needed relief. The law mandates that Virginia stay in RGGI. RGGI is reducing greenhouse gases. Deserve the right to stay in RGGI, and removing Virginia from RGGI will only sow seeds of discontent.
Hi. Hi. My name is Philip Ignatoff. I'm a student at the College of William and Mary, and I believe Virginia should stay in RGGI. Here's what's important to me. Important to me that Virginia has a strong economy. Important to me that energy is reliable and affordable for all. And it's important that Virginia takes action to reduce poverty. I care about my local community in Williamsburg. I want what's best for them today and into the future. The people in this room disagree on certain points, but I think we can all agree that we're trying to do what's best for Virginia. Unfortunately, I haven't found the administration's reasons persuasive, and I'm not convinced that leaving would be what's best. So the executive order that started the withdrawal process clearly states the administration's reasons to leave RGGI. To quote, the benefits of RGGI have not materialized while the costs have skyrocketed. The benefits have started to materialize. Over 2 years of participation, RGGI has generated over $500 million for crucial infrastructure resilience projects in Virginia. In total, $261.8 million to low-income energy efficiency and weatherization projects, and another $235.6 million to the Community Flood Preparedness Fund. And it's important to note that RGGI is the only source of funding for the Community Flood Preparedness Fund. And this is the only fund Virginia has that allocates money to long-term planning for flood resilience infrastructure. So instead of reacting as natural disasters and energy crises hurt Virginians, these funds give us the ability to invest in sturdy infrastructure that will prevent this suffering from happening in the first place. And this is the Virginia I want to live in. The executive order's other reason is that costs have skyrocketed. It is true that there have been small increases in energy costs because of RGGI, but leaving should not be the method for reducing energy costs. The most effective way the administration can reduce energy costs is by using their power to pass electric utility rate reforms that would prevent utility companies from overcharging Virginians. Participating in RGGI does have a small cost, but the funds it creates and carbon emissions it reduces makes it well worth that cost. If the administration is serious about reducing energy prices, they should support electric utility rate reform. Bipartisan legislation has been previously proposed. Leaving RGGI concerns me, and it concerns my fellow classmates. Over the past 2 months, my friends and I have educated our peers about RGGI and have inspired over 50 fellow students to submit public comments supporting RGGI. There's clear agreement at William & Mary that Virginia needs a serious carbon reduction plan.
Thank you. Is there anyone who hasn't had the chance to speak yet who would like to speak? Open floor. Come on up. Please state your name, too.
Hi, I'm Stanley Wang. I'm also a student at the College of William & Mary. I am a senior, and I'll be pursuing a PhD in economics this fall. And one of the things I noticed about economics is that I feel like people often miscomprehend things that we try to say or like what we're about. Earlier this year, I was on an Uber ride, and then when I told the driver that I was studying economics, he was like, "Wow, that's great, right? We're going to talk about." Then he started talking about all these things that supposedly economics supports, right? Like trickle down economics, certain like wage gaps, about how they're like perfectly fine. That's what economics entails. I think that what's important is to understand what economics really says about the issues that we're talking about. In the case of environmental action, the research is incredibly clear that we need action, that the cost of not doing this is going to be so much greater down the road than it is today. I feel like repealing RGGI is flies completely in the face of all economic reasoning. And then another cost that I feel like people don't usually talk about is the cost of the uncertainty that this causes. There's a paper by a professor at Boston University about the effects of similar repeals in energy legislation in the past. And basically what it says is that with legislation like this, it's not just that we're not doing this legislation now. What it means is that with all future legislation, the response of the energy industry is going to be so much less because they'll be uncertain about whether policy that passes in the future will be repealed as well. So what should be under consideration today is not just whether it's the right time now, it's also whether the future legislation should be allowed to be so much weaker because in this moment we didn't want to do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else care to speak? Please state your name.
First time I've ever been to a public hearing and people just got invited to speak. Usually we're trying to get out of here. So thank you so much for that. I'm Max Blaylock. I'm a United Methodist pastor, and actually I get to serve at the College of William and Mary with these great students, two of them that you've already heard from. And I wanted to talk about this as a parent and as a pastor. As you know, as a follower of Jesus, who said one of the two greatest commandments is to love your neighbor as yourself. Reggie is a no-brainer. We've already heard about all the positive things that Reggie does, not just for the environment, but for our communities that are the most vulnerable to flooding and to climate change and the most in need of weatherization and improvement. We've already heard about how we love our neighbors by having an environment that causes less disease and less problems when it comes to having clean air. We've already heard about how we love our neighbors, not just now, but in the future, by reducing the effects of climate change and trying to do something that provides a future for my children and for all the children. So when it comes to my Christian faith and when it comes to thinking about Reggie, the answer is clear. At the least, we do something that might help instead of not doing something that is going to hurt. So let's stay in Reggie, for God's sake.
And last call. Anybody else would care to speak? Now's your chance. All right. I'm going to remind you that the comment period is open through the 31st, the end of the month, and the hearing is concluded. Thank you very much.